Welcome back to Collectability. In this segment, I'd like to describe 6 new watches that have just arrived for sale at Collectability. It is essentially a show and tell of some new discoveries and some timepieces that have stories to tell. And it is such a pleasure to have these in front of me to share with you today. We're going to start with one of the oldest wristwatches I've had the pleasure of owning. And this is a Reference 11, made in 1927 and sold in 1932. If it looks like a Franck Muller to you, it's because this is what inspired him into making his whole line of watches that became oh so popular in the 1990s. Notice the curved case, the exploded Arabic numerals. These particular timepieces, Reference 11, are incredibly sought after today by the collecting community because it is a 100-year-old wristwatch. Less than 30 of these are known to exist today, and condition is everything. With this example, it recently came back from Patek Philippe service. I have the original tag still on there from service. The owner of this watch previously waited 172 weeks and paid over $20,000 US to have this watch restored. The end result is a Reference 11 finished to Patek Philippe's specs as if it was leaving the shop originally in 1932. It's a testament to their level of restoration, their know-how and workmanship in bringing back these watches back to life. Next, I have a steel Reference 96. This 30.5 millimeter beauty. It fits well on the modern wrist, the vintage wrist, men's wrist, women's wrist. A Reference 96 belongs in your collection. This example is from 1943 and has an extremely crisp steel case. And you can see how the patina on the dial, it's almost like a sector-like halo as the varnish is aging over time. Reference 96s are some of my favorite staple references to have in a collection and one of the key references in Patek Philippe's history. From the same era, here we have a top hat, Reference 1450. Although small, still very wearable, depending on the size of your wrist. But this example is most notable for its original crystal, the patina developing on the case. It was made for the U.S. market. It even has an early American strap, Patek Philippe strap on it, and they are stunning. The cases were made by a gentleman named Markowski, and he sold these cases to Patek Philippe. He's also known for the famous Eiffel Tower references, the banana Marilyn Monroe references. These shaped cases from the mid-century are very desirable by collectors today, but can still be bought in most cases for under $10,000. 1450s in particular are very relatively affordable. Now, moving ahead a few decades, here we have a Reference 4216 made for a woman. It was actually made for someone else whose name is written in Arabic on the dial, and that name is Saddam Hussein. This was a gift from his regime to a woman, and I could only imagine the story behind it, which I do not know. I found the watch in the Middle East. It is a pristine case in as original condition with the original ellipse buckle. I was surprised to see the extract from the archives shows and presents that this dial was born with the eagle insignia. And that you very rarely see on a Patek Philippe. And no doubt the Iraqis were big clients in the early 1980s of Patek Philippe. Moving on to the 1990s, here we have the one and only Reference 5070J. Now, the 5070 is inspired by a split-second chronograph you could see at the Patek Philippe Museum. And it came out in 1998. It's a massive 42 millimeter case. Less than 1,000 pieces were made in yellow gold. And this example has its original box and papers, and Collectability is very pleased to present it. Last but not least, we have and Aquanaut reference 5060A from 1997. Many are calling the summer of 2020 the summer of Aquanauts because we're seeing an unprecedented interest in Aquanauts, especially early ones over the last few months. People are seeing prices rise before their eyes as collectors are fighting to own fine examples of Aquanauts. This is where it all began. Back in 1997, the Nautilus Aquanaut, as it was called, reference 5060A, was released in very small numbers. Everybody wanted to have one. There was an obsession over owning one of these early Aquanauts. This original display from that same period, from 1997, 1998, describes the watch, and they put front and center this textured tropical strap to really educate potential buyers of what this watch is, the design elements, and how it really was putting Patek Philippe on the verge of entering the 21st century as something new, young, fresh, and sporty. The Aquanaut 5060A, less than 1,000 examples known. It's very difficult to find one well preserved such as this. It's impossible to find an original display, and it's Collectability's honor to present this piece today. So in conclusion, thank you for taking a look at some of our new arrivals, and hope to see you soon.